Hey, so LA here again, making this video talking about FTP. So FTP is a very useful application when you want to move files and data from server to server or computer to computer, whichever the case may be. Today we will be looking at this one called VSFTPD, which is an acronym for Very Secured File Transfer Protocol DAMI. So this is very useful when you have to move things from a server through server, but in a secured way. It's really helpful for migration. It's really helpful for whatever the case is. So right now I have this screen here. I actually have to do this right now as we speak. So that's why I'm recording this at the moment with some notes here. So the first thing that you want to make sure is that you have everything updated on your Linux machine. First thing first, we have to change into root. So next up, we want to make sure everything's updated. Apps, updates, and upgrade -y. So let's just get directly to it. So let's install the application, the VSFTPD. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to add FTP through the firewall to allow both, well, actually 3 ports we're going to allow. We're going to allow the basic one of 20, and we're going to add 21 for SSH. No, that's the other FTP as well, but it will be using SSH as well too, 22. But 22 is already enabled since I am using SSH as we speak. 20 is for commands, 21 is for direct file transfer, and 22 will be using that as well for the SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. So let's go ahead and allow, there we go. We're going to allow TLS. This is for transport layer security. There we go. Now next up, okay, we have to now add the user. So the user, in my case, that I'll just create him as add user my FTP. That's what I'll call him. There we go. Doesn't matter. Yes. All right. So now we're gonna make a directory that we will be able to add the files into and transport them back and forth. So FTP. Let's go next. Well, we don't need to actually, but let's go there. FTP files. There we go. So after creating the folder, so that's what we just did, make a directory. We created a folder called FTP /files. So now we're gonna add the fact that nobody could own this folder. So no one could own the folder FTP. Okay? So anyone could write directly to FTP. Nobody owns it. And now we're gonna add to disallow people from writing to FTP, because what we just did before, nobody owns it, so anybody could go in there. And now we have to add that nobody could write inside of it. So in this way, the FTP user will be able to write directly to it, because if you don't have this one set up, you won't be able to connect with the FTP user. There we go. Now we're going to own, okay, with this person here, my FTP. Okay, so this is the person and that's the group. We're gonna own the folder called files in FTP. It's created. So those are the hardest parts to actually set up. So now we need to access the VSFTPD configuration files just to make sure certain things are set up. So let's go directly to that folder. I like to use Nano personally. There we go. Now we have to go and uncomment a couple lines. This one allows it for files that are transferred to this machine to get the correct permissions. So the permission in this case would be, so the first part is always the owner, the second part is group, and then the other one's others. So 0 read, writes, and execute. The owner is allowed to do that. And then the group and the others are only able to read and execute. So now that means that group and others, they could read and write as well. Read and execute. I'm sorry. Read and write would be 1. So we want to uncomment this one. Perfect. I believe write enabled is already here. There we go. Yeah, we have to uncomment this one. This was a very important one as well, because you want to be able to write. This one as well, we have to uncomment, but it looks like it's already uncommented. This one here, it's useful if you want to stop that user that we created. So example, the one that I just created called MyFTP. If you uncomment this one, it's to stop the users from browsing other areas that are not the assigned folder. So in this case, the assigned folder that we gave him before was this one, my FTP files. So that's his assigned folder. And if you uncomment that area, that means that he's not allowed to go anywhere else. And you only do it really if you're doing it like for someone that's doing it for you, and you'll do it in that way. Other than that, you just leave that part commented, so then your FTP user could always go through anyway. One thing as well that we could add inside of here is to force dot files to be seen. Files equal yes. So it happens sometimes that some web files and whatnot could actually be written as dots and then, you know, followed by letters and numbers and whatever. So that's what we do. We allow that. And it should be working now. Let's test it out. So me personally, I like to use WinSCP on my Windows computer. I use WinSCP to connect to Linux computers using FTP, or in this case SFTP, a secured version of FTP. So on the file protocol at the top, I have it SFTP port number 22, okay, for SSH. I did put the username, myFTP, then my password I did put, save, login. That's it. And then now, let's see if we can find that folder, FTP, and files. And this is where I can put all my stuff and start dragging them back and forth and whatnot. So if I want to drag some books over, okay, I'm just gonna do a quick example. So now we're back to the server. Go on to FTP/files. FTP/files, and we should have everything here. So that's the books I was dragging in before. So if we go inside here, just to see. That's it. So we've just successfully installed VSFTPD, very secure file transfer protocol daemon, which allows you to transfer over port 22. So if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment and also give it a like. Peace.